Spurs look to extend their regular season home streak to 32 wins against the Cavs tonight. San Antonio is currently 2.5 games behind the Warriors for the best record in the NBA. And according to our Basketball Power Index, the Spurs have the best chance to win the NBA title at 49%. Stephen A., is tonight's game a finals preview?
Well, I definitely think it could be. As a matter of fact, I would label this the favorite. I mean, I know that we've all been on Golden State's bandwagon. They've been absolutely sensational. Just even though they just lost their third game last night, they didn't have Draymond Green losing to Denver. But you're just watching the San Antonio Spurs. They've methodically gone about the business of winning basketball games at a record pace. They're 34-6 right now. They've won 16 of their last 17. They've won 9 straight. Their leading scorer is scoring 20 points a game. They only have 3 guys averaging in double digits. They've got about 9 dudes averaging about at least 19 minutes a game. They're the #1 defense in the NBA. They have Kawhi Leonard, who's a stopper. You've got him and LaMarcus Aldridge doing their thing, even though LaMarcus Aldridge only averages 16 a game. And on top of it all, Kawhi Leonard is the only dude averaging 30-plus minutes a game for the San Antonio Spurs. When you consider all of that, along with their ability to dictate pace, their experience, the fact that they still have the big 3, because one of the things that I got reminded of, actually Skip Bayless by Isaiah Thomas just yesterday, was he said, we were talking about the point guards, we didn't mention Tony Parker. Because Tony Parker is a 3-time champion. This guy, what he has done in his career, 3-4-time champion, this guy's been absolutely sensational, doesn't get enough credit. That's something that needs to be recognized as well. All those things considered, it appears to me to be a collision course. First, it has to be San Antonio and Golden State, of course. But it's definitely, it's damn near guaranteed that Cleveland's coming out of the East.
Yep.
And it's probable that San Antonio's coming out the West, even though I think OKC and Golden State may have something to say about that. We'll see. But San Antonio looks like a juggernaut right now because they look as if they're going to be rested, and they play playoff-style basketball, even during the regular season. They just perfect it, and I think that's the kind of stuff that's going to work in their favor when all is said and done. If I had to bet my money, this is what I would bet it on.
Really? I sure hope you're right. And obviously, I'm the biggest Spurs fan, let's say, in the media on the planet. And yet, I am not sold yet. I'm going to be strong about this because I'm only starting to really like this team. And there's a whole lot to like, as you just detailed. Holding teams under 90 points a game. LaMarcus Aldridge has been even better than I thought he would be. He has fit right in. Listen, this man can rebound and block shots and make clutch shots. Kawhi, obviously an MVP candidate. And Stephen A., you want to talk about the deepest team in the NBA? The Spurs' second unit featuring Boris Diaw, the underrated Boris Diaw, Manu Ginobili, Patty Mills, Jonathan Simmons, can be even more explosive than their starting 5. But here's the problem. I say I'm starting to like this team, emphasize starting. Who have they beaten? They've played the easiest schedule I can ever remember because I think you're seeing this. The West is no longer the best. I'm not saying it isn't better than the East, but it's not what it used to be. I look for one impressive victory so far, 34-6. I don't know one. I can show you 2 stinkers at Toronto and at Chicago that they lost where I said, who are they? And I can show you one quote-unquote significant win over the Clippers in San Antonio when the Clippers were 16-10. Not exactly a juggernaut. And that night on a Friday night, watched every dribble of the game. The Clippers led my Spurs after 3 quarters, 88-85, and Pop once again had to resort to hack a DeAndre to flip the script in that game and change the momentum. And finally, thanks to Tony Parker, the Spurs pulled away. That's it. That's all I got. So you're not going to hear me jumping up on this table and dancing and screaming for my Spurs yet because it's not time. You got to show me. You got to show me you can right the wrong of what happened last March when Cleveland visited San Antonio. You remember this one, Mr. Smith? when Kyrie went for 57 against Tony Parker? I don't know if Tony can guard Kyrie, because you want to talk about a bad man. This is a bad man, and it looks like he's starting to get really healthy. So that game went into overtime because my man Kawhi Leonard, Achilles heel, missed 2 game-closing free throws with 4.3 seconds left. So it went to, then Kyrie got his chance to make one out of his backside that forced overtime. They win in overtime. They got to prove to me they can beat Cleveland at home tonight. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm not sure about it either, but let's understand why. Kyrie is a bad boy. Number 2, Cleveland's 9-1 since he's returned, and he's just finding his groove.
He is.
But number 3, Skip, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Kyrie dropped 57 last time in San Antonio, March 12th, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Here would be a reason why. He hit all 7 of his three-pointers and all 10 of his free throws. I mean, and 20 of 32 shots. So let's put it in perspective. Kyrie, is he capable of that? Of course he is, because he's a bad boy. But chances are that's not going to happen again. Not that. LeBron dropped 31 that game. You know, and you look at the balanced attack that the Spurs had with Kawhi,
well, Tony
Parker,
had 31 that game, but it wasn't nearly enough.
Tony had 31. Kawhi had 24. Tim Duncan had 20, like 18 or 24. I don't remember correctly. Danny Green had 24. I mean, listen, all I'm saying to you is this. I can't sit there and feel the way that you feel, because the Spurs have done it over and over and over again throughout the years. I have to give them their respect. Even when they lost in the first round. We all know the Clippers and the Spurs had no business meeting in the first round. That was unfair to both of them, the quality teams that they were, to meet in the first round. And that went to a 7-game series with, questionable stuff at the end, that Popovich protested at least while the game was going on. We understand all of that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. The way the Spurs are rolling, in all likelihood, they'll have a top 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they'll be well rested. So it really comes down to what style of basketball is going to get in their way. When you're holding teams to less than 90 points, do you know why, Skip? Because with LaMarcus Aldridge and Tim Duncan, who's leading the team in block shots, you're not getting easy shots in the lane.
No.
To beat San Antonio, you're going to have to be a perimeter shooting team. That's why Golden State is so formidable, and we're saying that more so than the Clippers, who would have to use DeAndre and Blake Griffin to beat them, or Houston, who would need Dwight Howard, not just James Harden, to beat them. Oklahoma City's got a chance because of Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, because you don't have to contend with those big boys on their front line. You're a perimeter shooting team. That's what you do. That could be an Achilles heel for San Antonio, even though Kawhi's going to be defending somebody on the perimeter. So when I look at it from that perspective, I just say to myself, San Antonio cannot be dismissed because of their history, because they're championship tested, because they know what it takes, they know what they're playing for, and they'll be well rested. Steph Curry's going to have to make sure he's healthy. James Harden's going to have to play the playoff games of his life. And the Clippers somehow, some way, even though they're rolling right now, are going to have to find a way to get Josh Smith and Lance Stevenson on board, buying in, because they've been riding the bench lately, because they haven't bought in. You're going to have to get them involved in order to find a way to beat San Antonio. Otherwise, it's San Antonio and Golden State on a collision course, and anything could happen in a series like that.
Yep.
And I think Cleveland, as formidable as they are, the only way they could beat San Antonio is if Kyrie goes berserk, because even though LeBron is going to always get his, he can't post up and back them down the way he did Golden State. He'll have to beat them a different way, and he'll need Kyrie's help to do it. And that's a lot to ask for in the finals.
First test for my Spurs tonight.
Yes, a great measuring stick. They're on a 9-game win streak, outscoring opponents 17 points per game, but Skip not sold there on the competition quite yet. Tomorrow, NBA Friday presented by State Farm on ESPN at 7. The Timberwolves take on the Thunder. Then at 9:30, the Cavs take on the Rockets. And when we come back on First Take, the Jets loss in Week 17 knocked them